everybody, this is Diana from So Very Crafty, and we are here today to make this terrific little iPad carrying case. And I was asked by one of you, one of our subscribers and viewers, to make this particular project. I have to admit though that I did this version on the fly. I had never made a prototype of this project. I created it in my head and decided just to make it for the video. So there's a big mistake that I made during the course of making this project, but you don't have to make it and yours will come out perfect. There's a point in time when we add the zipper where I said to top stitch the zipper as you were going along. Do not top stitch the zipper until the very last step of this project. And I put a little disclaimer and a warning in the middle of the video to show you do not top stitch this zipper. Otherwise the very ends of your bag will not come out correctly. So that was a mistake, but I did this on the fly just for a viewer like you. So otherwise, this bag is a terrific little iPad carrying case that anybody with basic sewing skills can make, notwithstanding the mistake that I made when I made it. But I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and ring that bell so that you can have future notifications for projects by So Very Crafty, and maybe you can throw in a suggestion for me to make something for you. This was done just for a viewer, so let's get started on this project and see how I went about doing it on the fly for one of my videos without ever having made it before. So let's get going. So let's get started. This is the first time I've made a video where I've never actually made the project before the video. So this is going to be interesting. I'm making this as I go along. I've created it in my head, and hopefully it'll come out okay. So we are going to start out with an outer fabric that measures 12.5 inches across by 12 inches long. Lining fabric that's 12.5 by 12, 2 pieces each. I'm using an 18-inch zipper. Now I like to use zippers by the yard because I can use these cute little zipper pulls, but you can just buy an 18-inch zipper for this. It's not a problem. You are going to cut out a 4-inch by 17.5 inch 2 pieces of outer fabric that are going to serve as the handles for this iPad case. You are going to cut some fusible foam. Now I've never used fusible foam here on the videos. I've used it many times for projects that I've done on the blog, but this is the first time we've used it here on the YouTube channel. But we are going to cut the 12.5 by 12 inch square, or basically squares of fusible foam. But what I've done is I've taken a 1/4 inch seam allowance off all the way around because we don't want the bulk of this foam in our seam allowance. I have also cut some Pellon 808 interfacing. You could use SF101 or something similar to that if you wanted, but I had this 808 on hand. And that is the 4-inch by 17.5 inch rectangle that are going to be the handles for this, and I'm just beefing up my handles a little bit using that interfacing. The other thing we're going to do is we are going to cut 2 pieces that measure 2 inches by 4 inches that are going to serve as our zipper tabs. Because I want this to be an open wide kind of an iPad case, so you can easily open it wide and put your iPad in and close it, I want to have zipper tabs on each end of my zipper, because my zipper is actually going to be longer than the iPad case itself. So we want to have zipper tabs to close up these ends and make them look really nice. So I've used my outer fabric for that. So what are we going to do to start out with? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to fuse our interfacing, or our fusible foam, according to the manufacturer's instructions, to the center wrong side of our main outer fabric. And we want to make sure that those 1/4 inch seam allowances are all the way around, because we don't want the bulk in the zipper or in the seam allowance. And there is going to be a 1/4 inch seam allowance for this project. And while you're at the iron, you might as well fuse the Pellon 808 interfacing onto the wrong sides of your strap pieces, according to the manufacturer's instructions for that as well. So I'm going to head over to the iron and I'm going to fuse these together, and then I'll be back and we'll move on to our next step. Okay, as you can see, we have fused our foam onto our fabric pieces, and you can see this seam allowance all the way around. Now you can get this fusible foam at any fabric store or online. Now oftentimes with fusible foam, people will quilt this. And by quilting, what I mean is just stitch some lines, maybe diagonally or across in a square, to really secure this. I'm not going to do that for this project because I just don't want that kind of look for this. I have this lovely Peanuts fabric that I like, so I want to keep that just the way it is. So the next thing that we're going to do for this project is we're going to make our straps. We have 2 straps because this is going to be a carryable bag. And we are going to fold these straps in half lengthwise and press with an iron. And you will see that you will get a nice center mark. You're going to fold the outer raw edges to the center on both sides, and you're going to press again and then fold it in half, and you're going to stitch up and down both long edges to secure those raw edges to the inside, and we have a nice strap that has no raw edges on either side and a nice finished edge. So I'm going to head over to the iron and to the sewing machine, and I'm going to complete that process. Okay, so we are back, and I have these straps that I've already completed. Now I'm going to go over to my outer fabric pieces where I have fused on my fusible foam, and I'm going to take a ruler and I am going to measure 3 inches across and 3 inches down. and make a mark. And I'm going to do the same for the other side. I'm going to take my straps, I'm going to fold them under just a little bit so that there's no raw edge, and I'm going to place them on that mark and pin. This is a little bulky here because of the interfacing and the foam, so use a sturdy pin for this. And you can see that that makes a nice little handle. And we're going to repeat that process on the other side. Okay, now that I have my straps on, I'm going to go back over to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch up about 2 inches from the bottom, right on where my stitching is for the straps. Stitch across and basically stitch a rectangle all the way around to secure these straps to my outer bag. And I'm going to do that for both of these straps. So let's head back over to the sewing machine and let's secure these straps. Okay, here we are at the sewing machine, and we are just going to stitch on these straps one at a time. I'm going to start here at the bottom, removing this pin. Stitch up a couple of inches and across. We have a nice little box, and our strap is not going anywhere. And I'm going to repeat this process for the rest of the strap, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay, now our handles are secure, as you can see. Now it's time to add our zipper tabs, because before we can add our zipper, we have to have these tabs added on. So the way we're going to do that is pretty simple. We are going to take our zipper tab, which is 4 inches by 2 inches. We are going to place the 2-inch side on the center of our 1-inch zipper. And I'm just going to clip this with a clip. We are going to stitch right across here using about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then we are going to flip it up and fold in the sides, and the sides will meet in the center. And we're going to press that with a hot iron, and it will all be nice and square. Then we're going to fold it over, fold under the raw edge, and it'll be nice and square. And we're going to stitch a square around this to secure it. But we're going to head over to the sewing machine and to the iron, and we are going to complete this. So here we are back at the iron, or back at the sewing machine, sorry. And we are just going to stitch right across here using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That's it. Now we're going to flip this up and we're going to fold our sides into the center. And I'm going to press this with a hot iron so that they both meet all the way down. Now I've pressed this with a hot iron. I'm going to fold this zipper tab down. And I have a choice. I can just slide this under here, which is my preferred method. We're going to slide it, we're going to slide it right under the folded edge where we stitched. And clip. Do the same for the other side. Oops, I know I'm missing the camera here. I apologize. And clip, and you have a nice zipper tab here at the end of your zipper. We are going to stitch all along the sides and the ends to make this into a nice, neat zipper tab. So we're going to do that right now. And there we have a zipper tab. And we are just going to repeat this process for the other end. Okay, now we have our zipper and our zipper tabs, and it's time to add it to our iPad case. First thing we're going to do is we are going to place our lining piece right sides up. We are going to find the center of our zipper. We can kind of finger press this and place it in the center of our lining. We can finger press that. Also right sides up. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to place our outer fabric right sides down onto the zipper and to the lining fabric making sure that our strap is facing down so that it doesn't get caught when you're sewing the zipper. We're going to line up these raw edges. And I'm just going to pin this along here. And once we have done that, we are going to head over to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch along this fusible foam through all 3 layers, making sure that we don't stitch the foam because we don't want the bulk in our zipper. And once we've done that, we're going to come back and we're going to go to our next step. Okay, here we are back at the sewing machine, and I have changed out my presser foot and put on my zipper foot. And I am just going to stitch right along my zipper and along this fusible foam, removing my pins as I go. Now I'm coming up to my zipper pull, so I'm going to reach underneath and I'm going to pull this zipper pull out of the way, because otherwise we're going to end up with kind of a bump in our zipper, and we don't really want that. And there we have our zipper stitched to our outer fabric. Okay, we have our one side of our zipper stitched to our outer fabric. Got our zipper pull out of the way. I'm going to go over to the iron and I am going to press this, and then I'm just going to do a little top stitch right along this zipper, because we want to make sure that our lining is out of the way, because otherwise what happens oftentimes is our zipper gets tangled in our lining and it doesn't want to open or close. So we're going to do a nice top stitch there. Okay, so now we have a nice top stitch along the side of our zipper. And now we want to do exactly the same thing on the other side of our zipper. We are going to take our lining piece, place it on our workstation, place our zipper right in the center, and place our other outer piece wrong sides down, and we're just going to pin this, and we're going to stitch it exactly the same as we stitched the first one. So I'm not going to show you how to do this on camera because I've already done it. I'm just going to rush over to the sewing machine and stitch this, and then we will move on to our next step. Okay, so I've now added both sides of my zipper. I've top stitched on both sides, and as you can see, our zipper opens up easily. Now we are going to take our outer sides and our lining sides, and we are going to line them up. Now you'll see that I've opened up this zipper, and this is going to be important because once we stitch this bag together, we are going to have to turn it. And if we don't have this zipper open, we won't be able to turn our bag right sides out. So we are going to place these so that the lining pieces are together, and let's make sure that they are matching up. We'll just place some pins. Same thing with the other side. And we're going to match up our outer sides together. Pin. This is getting a little fidgety because of the handles, but it should be okay. Said this is the first time I've done a video kind of on the fly here. So this is going to turn out however it turns out. This is live and, well, not really live, but I have never made this project before. I created it in my head for a viewer who wanted one of these and thought this might be a good option for her. Now what we're going to do is we are going to simply stitch the lining sides together and the outer sides together using our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now the one thing that we do want to do, and the reason that I haven't really pinned the bottom of the lining, is we are going to leave an opening in the bottom of our lining. So we're just going to stitch a little bit on this side and a little bit on this side. And the reason that we're going to do that is because when we turn our bag right sides out, we're going to turn it not only through the zipper, but through this opening that we leave in the bottom part of our lining. So the other thing I want to advise you is we do not want to stitch all the way up here because we'll stitch this zipper, and we want an open wide zipper on this particular bag because we want to be able to open it wide and really be able to slide in our iPad. So we're going to head back over to the sewing machine. We're going to stitch our sides and our bottoms partway on the lining and come back over, and we're going to finish up our project. Okay everybody, now we have finished stitching our sides and partially on our bottom, and we are going to reach in through the opening in our lining and through the zipper and turn this bag right sides out. Easy as pie. We're just going to poke out our corners. We have this opening in our lining that we need to stitch closed. We can either use ladder stitch or use our machine. I'm just going to machine stitch this. I'm not going to do that for the video. I'm just going to stuff this in here right now. Now, I told you at the beginning of this video, that I made a mistake when I was doing this video on the fly, and that was that I top stitched this zipper while I was in the process of actually creating this project, and I do not want you to top stitch this, but now is the time to top stitch all the way around, because you will be able to top stitch these ends so that they are nice and neat. I ended up having to actually rip out part of my top stitching of my zipper to make my ends look like they should. So do not top stitch your zipper while you are sewing this. Wait until the end to top stitch all the way around this bag. That is your final step for creating this bag, is top stitching all the way around, and you are now complete. Here we are, finished with our project. Perfect. All we have to do is put in our iPad. I have one to demonstrate. Fits nice and neat inside our padded iPad sleeve. We have a zipper that zips perfectly, and it's an open wide zipper, which I like, so you're not struggling to put your iPad in. It's got nice carrying handles, and you are ready to go. So this project was made specifically for a viewer, but I hope you like it too. It is a super simple beginner sewing project that anybody with basic sewing skills can make in no time at all. So please give this project a try, and if you liked it, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Ring that bell for future notifications for more sewing and crafting videos from Sew Very Crafty. Or if you like, head over to the blog at www.sewverycrafty.com for way more sewing and crafting tutorials than you'll find on the YouTube channel, because there's just not enough time in the day to do both, but I'm working on it slow but sure. So there you have it, a nice padded iPad case for anyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, and I will see you next time. Bye.